overseers, but you know the cruel punishments disobedience will bring. All you have left of your former life is your memories, including your memories of your religion and the music that was always a vital part of your existence. Please feel free to open your eyes. Eileen Gunther writes in her book, In Their Own Words, Slave Life and the Powers of Spirituals, quote, the creators of Negro spirituals were fiercely determined survivors of the largest forced migration in history. For every 100 enslaved individuals who reached the New World, another 40 had died in Africa or during the Middle Passage. And to put everything in context, according to the Equal Justice Initiative, in total, well over 12 million individuals were kidnapped and trafficked across the Atlantic to the Americas over several centuries. This included approximately 390,000 who were brought to the area we now call the United States between 1626 and 1860. Please note these numbers do not include the children born to the enslaved, who helped to expand this number. Approximately 4 million people were enslaved in the U.S. at the start of the Civil War, according to the Library of Congress. The African women, men, and children who were transported on slave ships brought their own religious beliefs and practices with them. They were from a variety of different tribes with different tribal dialects, and according to Anthea Butler, a professor of religious studies at the University of Pennsylvania, many were practitioners of traditional African religions, although they were different religions if they were from different tribes, and some were practicing Muslims or Christians. But they were never treated as intelligent and knowledgeable individuals. They were all often seen as heathens by the colonists, who found justification for enslaving them and treating them as chattel in interpretations of multiple biblical scriptures, most notably Genesis 9:25, the curse of Ham. In Africa, music was central to people's lives, regardless of the tribe or religion they were part of. Making music permeated important life events and daily activities. However, the white colonists of North America were alarmed by the enslaveds' African-infused way of worship, which sometimes included idols and dancing. Further, enslavers were concerned about enslaved uprisings and discouraged meetings outside of their control. As a result, enslaved religious gatherings outside of approved attendance at white churches were often banned and had to be conducted in clandestine manners. Some of the original spirituals are thought to have come out of these banned religious gatherings when attendees would just start singing what they were thinking, feeling, and believing. It is said that spirituals offer a mirror of slave life. They are reflections of enslaved individuals' experiences, including their African backgrounds, their life on southern plantations, their interactions with overseers and enslavers, and their experience with Christianity as taught to them in limited fashions by their owners. The white church did not share parts of the Bible that they thought would encourage those who were enslaved to think they should be free. In fact, at one point, a law was passed saying if somebody who was enslaved was baptized, they could not be free. Spirituals are songs of resistance, sorrow, religion, and importantly, community. Singing spirituals together while working in the fields or while meeting together during secret meetings helped those who are enslaved endure the dehumanization of their existence and kept them from utter despair. It's where they kept the real part of their souls, was when they sang together in these meetings. Though the enslaved were first brought to what we now call the U.S. in the early 1600s, these songs did not come into being until sometime in the very late 1700s and through the mid-1800s. The songs were passed down orally, as enslaved people were rarely allowed to learn how to read and write. And it wasn't until the 1800s that enough of those enslaved shared English as a primary language and therefore could take songs to other enslavers' properties easily when they were sold. Enslavers and overseers, for the most part, did not allow the enslaved workers to speak to one another in the fields, but did encourage them and in many cases insisted that they sing. The overseers could identify where each enslaved person was during the day by their singing. The enslaved related to biblical stories they heard in white churches that they recognized as having parallels to their own lives, and created spirituals that retold narratives about biblical figures like Daniel and Moses. These religious spirituals served as ways to express their faith as well as their sorrow and hopes. Those who were enslaved learned the story of Jesus' Last Supper and crucifixion and recognized the similarities between the beatings and crucifixion of Christ and their own lives, which gave hope to many. Some of their songs reflected an understanding that the enslaved would have freedom only upon death, when they were accepted into God's kingdom. Their suffering was for a reason, a notion that their white enslavers underscored in their teachings of Christianity. Many spirituals are regarded as sorrow songs, things sometimes I feel like a motherless child. And unbeknownst to their enslavers, many were also protest songs. Go Down Moses was used by Harriet Tubman to identify herself or her team, they were Moses, to the enslaved, inviting them to flee to the north via the Underground Railroad. The River Jordan was either the Ohio or Mississippi rivers that they would cross while escaping. Further, singing Let Us Break Bread Together was not only a communion song, but was a way for an enslaved person to share they were escaping to the north or inviting others to a secret meeting. And there was one account I read where when some of the enslaved left via the Underground Railroad and got to a safe house, they just got down on their knees and started singing Let Us Break Bread Together. And many songs that are classified as religious songs used biblical code to speak of and communicate with each other about their ordeals on southern plantations. For instance, Egypt and Babylon, or hell, were often codes for the land of enslaved people, and the Israelites stood for the enslaved. As Eileen Gunther says, spirituals are powerful, beautiful music of sorrow and hope. They enrich the life of the singer as well as the listener. Regardless of race or circumstance of the singer and audience, this is music that speaks to the human condition, and it speaks from heart to heart. Part of the American dream is that there is an assumption we will all have an equal opportunity for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yet time after time in our country's history, from the post-Civil War era through the present, programs that could have helped first the enslaved and then their descendants were unavailable to them to the degree that they were available to white people. All you have to do is look at the efforts to disenfranchise Black and other people of color from voting today to know it continues. As Robert Rohr writes in his book, The Tears of Things, quote, in the 19th century America, the Black enslaved understood the liberating gospel, while the white minority created an exclusivist imperial belief system that could barely be called Christianity. The privileged form of white Christianity survives to this day. Since the publication of the original slave songs after the end of the Civil War, choirs, churches, many famous musicians, and others have performed their songs, and they have contributed to the development of gospel music, the blues, and country music, as well as several other musical genres. But neither those who composed the original songs nor their descendants were ever compensated for the gift their music brought to many over centuries. No royalties have been paid out by anyone or any group, including by religious organizations. Royalties for Spirituals at UCME is a small step, a very small step, but it is a step towards healing the many injustices that have faced the Black community for centuries. It is an acknowledgement of the many ways Christianity was misappropriated to support the system of slavery. And it is a way to say we do not believe that the white race is superior to all others. An enduring mythology about the inferiority of Black people that was created to legitimate, perpetuate, and defend slavery. This mythology survived slavery's formal abolition following the Civil War, and as mentioned previously, for many still exists today, counter to all scientific evidence to the contrary. We are all part of the same human species. We are all part of the same human race, and we are all equal before God. It is also part of the mission referenced in today's scripture and many other times in the Bible that UMCE is taking seriously. We strive to recognize love over hate as our way forward and help bring deliverance to those who are still held captive due to the injustices in our society and who are still bruised by our current society. Vocal Coalition Youth Choirs, aka VOCO, the organization to which UMCE is donating our free will offerings 4 times a year, has an approach that is unique and that they hope will lead to a more tolerant and empathetic world. It is focused on delivering transformational and equity-driven music programs that prioritize underserved youth at certain Denver schools. Everyone is welcome, but the organization prioritizes Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, BIPOC, music, culture, and arts. VOCO reaches youth of different backgrounds and mindsets by singing music they call their own and by working with local artists that are exposed to, and therefore they are exposed to and sing music from cultures different than their own. Everything from spirituals to hip hop to rap to rock to classical to country western. It is focused on the present and future in ways to bring everyone closer together. Education and improving students' mental health and understanding of cultural differences are at its core, with the hope that youth who participate in their programs will bring their experiences to others, who in turn will move forward with love and acceptance of differences and recognize we were all neighbors to one another. By taking this very small step to right past injustices and donating our free will offerings to VOCO for Black youth scholarships, expecting no return gift, we are striving to help and support a more equitable and just world. I'd like to end by reading you the lyrics of a song composed by an individual who graduated from VOCO's program and who's now a medical resident. Her song is performed at every VOCO concert, and when sung, the choir members and then the people of the audience are asked to link arms, sing and move together to the music. Joyce has actually experienced this. Emma Beckler's words were her way of painting a picture of what she believes VOCO brings to the world. Our minds are our weapons. Our souls our protection. Our feet will never uproot. One body, one mind, we will all stand in line, proclaim the once unspeakable truth. Seamless repairs to the damage we share. Underneath, we are all flesh and blood. Slowly we rise with our voices entwined. The revival has only just begun. Thank you.